Welcome to the Teaching Science Podcast.
These episodes are recorded on Mondays at 4 p.m. Eastern in our virtual Teacher's Lounge.
If you would like to join us on a Monday to chat about a topic related to science education, go to the calendar in our show description to get the link for the week.
You can listen to the recorded discussions as a podcast from any major podcast provider or on the Superheroes of Science YouTube channel. All right. Well, I guess we go ahead and we get started and start chatting about today's topic to start with, which is the new Justice League movie. Has anyone seen it? No? That was a short conversation. That was awesome. All right, a lot of fun. We'll come back to that later when at least one of us has seen it, since I haven't either. I just opened Facebook. It was a commercial. And I pulled up our page to see because I saw I had a notification, and I saw a commercial. I'm like, I've never seen a commercial for this, but I thought maybe that's the one we'd already seen. But there's like a new one out now, isn't there?
I think there is a new one. Yes.
I need a friend that has HBO Max.
You do have a friend that has HBO Max.
I know. We need to make a phone call, have them come over with their stuff.
Is it out?
Huh?
Is it out? Out like you can pull it up and watch it? Out?
If I understand, March 18th. Streaming on March 18th.
Couple days.
Well, this week? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's just 3 days.
It's a day after our national holiday.
No, it's day after Bill Bailey's holiday. Bill O'Bailey's holiday.
Bill O'Bailey.
My son's birthday on the 17th.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome. Which one?
Yeah.
Which son?
My oldest son.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, my wife has red hair. Does that make me Irish? I'll tap for no. All right. Well, I guess since we haven't seen the movie and we're done talking about St. Paddy's Day, we'll go into spring topics. And that's what we threw on the calendar, is talk about spring lesson ideas and spring topics. I know that first thing came to mind, of course, for me, it's Sarah, I'm guessing you're the same, is the globe stuff. Because it's time to get out. It's time to get outside and start, doing things outside. Although apparently today it's not.
Take some observations. Yeah.
Huh?
Take some observations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's time to break out that Globe Observer app and start doing some cloud observations. And I know there's a bud burst. I've never done bud burst. But I know there's like a bud burst activity that a lot of your like high school teachers, or I don't know if a lot, but I know that it seems like it's the older students a little bit. But it seems to me when they did a training, it was elementary they were doing too. But I've not done the training for that one. I don't know. But bud burst is just they're recording when certain buds open, and then they kind of document. I think when the seasonal spring is happening, if I understand it right.
I think so. I know there's a couple different citizen science programs that do a bud burst project, and we were talking about the Globe Observer app, and I believe they go off of lilac bud burst.
Yes.
The Globe Observer.
It's a certain species of lilac too, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know which species, but
I don't know. I thought all those things would be cool, but my timing would never be right.
But you don't remember if, because that's interesting. Is it like a diameter, or like how much open? Is it like a percent?
See, I never went through the training. I know that most of these places have online trainings now, but I don't know if it's just when it starts opening and you can start seeing leaf.
If you start to go the number on the date, that'd be interesting.
I just remember seeing I saw where students did one for a presentation for one of their science symposiums. I remember seeing that, and I always thought, man, that'd be so cool to check out and do, but I just never did. I think we have a lot of ideas that we think would be cool to do with the kids sometimes, and we just never get around to them.
Yeah.
But that was the first one that came to my mind, was the globe. I thought, well, let's get outside. Let's start looking at our clouds, especially since rain season's coming. It's a perfect time to start talking about clouds. and be able to talk about cloud cover. That's our percent. We get our percent cloud cover. That is just an awesome math lesson. If you guys haven't done that, I encourage doing that one. It's a nice crossover into mathematics.
Even if you don't,
then they
even if
have
you
the
don't feel like
first
you can
observer.
identify clouds yourself, if you have trouble identifying clouds, it really walks you through what pictures to look at and compare, and it's pretty step by step.
If you just have one device in your classroom, you can do it as a group.
Yeah.
And so, like Amy, you could do it with an iPad in the classroom and kind of talk about those clouds. And they have like the elementary books, which you've seen, Amy. I don't know if you've used the cloud. Do you have the Clouds Have Names book? Have you ever used that one?
I do. Yeah, I did. I did for enrichment.
Okay.
Summer.
Oh, good deal.
But that's, I mean, first thing comes to mind for me.
Yeah.
But the second thing came to mind for me, Amy, and you might have done this one. The ag in a classroom. What was it they did? They did something with a lima bean. I know you've done it like the baggies and a lima bean, but I can't remember what agriculture did.
They call them beanie babies. So germinating a lima bean, but you put it in like a little sample baggie. Or I couldn't find those one year, and I just used a regular Ziploc sandwich bag as long as it seals well. So you put the moistened paper towel in the bottom, and then a lima bean seed, and then seal it up really tight. And I've even like taped it shut because I have 5-year-olds who are very curious. So their lima beans don't survive if they don't keep the bag shut, because you keep the greenhouse effect, or the water cycle kind of goes. Keep it moist inside. So, and then turn that into a necklace. And then while they're at school, they have to wear it close to their bodies. So they wear it under their shirts. And then then they just watch the seed germinate, and then they get to take their beanie baby home, and then they plant it. So we've even done experiments where we hung one up in different places in the classroom. The kids choose where, and then they compare, like, does the one in the classroom germinate quicker, or what kind of effect does that have? Wearing the seed, why would you wear it close to your body? Like that kind of thing.
That's really good questions. Yeah.
Really successful.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, for anybody from high school that's listens to this, I taught botany and zoology, and when we did the botany part, mums become a very, you can get a lot of mums. And so we did we planted mums outside in plots. And I always loved letting the kids decide on what it is they wanted to test. Now they had to come up with a written, like, what they're going to do, but they would usually get 6 mums, and then they could decide what their test was going to be. And then they had a controlled, right? And they had to decide where the control was going to be versus what was going to be tested and all that. But I don't know if you guys have ever watched any of those shows for gardeners and all that stuff. The one guy, every time he does it, the first thing he does is he pops open a beer. And I kid you not. And he says every concoction he makes, he pours half the beer in the concoction. Mm-hmm. And it's to break the cuticle, the waxy layer on the top. Mm-hmm. It's to break that down so the nutrients get into the plant. Mm-hmm. So there's actually a reason for the beer to be used. And I had a kid one year that wanted to do that, and that wasn't going to fly in high school. So.
Well, at least you stopped that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, wow, you just wasted half a beer.
Yeah.
Although for me, any beer is a waste. I don't like beer. So I'm all right with this. Totally all right with this. Pouring it on plants, perfectly fine. But I like that. It's just, I mean, it's spring. It's time to do some biology. It's time to get that in. It's regardless of what you're doing. There's so much we can do with it, with growing life. And
what about building blocks of life? So I've got one, but it's for high school, and I always would do this in the spring with the chemistry kids. So it's a little out of it. It's not right in, it doesn't necessarily have to do with nature, but we would do when we're learning about naming carbon structures. So carbon, one carbon is a methane, and we would learn a lot about, so we have 2 arms and 2 legs, and carbon can make 4 bonds. And then kids can then start linking elbows, they can link legs, they kind of have some fun with it. And then you can make all your structures. And so kind of learning, I think we called it I don't remember what I called it now, but it was just to get out, and then the kids would form. I'd say, okay, now form pentane, and so then 5 kids would have to link up arms, or make one bond. So there's your single bonds, there's your anes, and they say, okay, well now try a pentene, and then they'd have to figure out where the double bond would go. And then you throw out all the different nomenclature for the different carbon chains. And then you can even do your alkynes as well. And then talk about why you can't have things like a methene or a methine, because that's only one carbon. So you're not making you can't make more than one bond. You just have the one carbon. But the point is that it needs a really large open space. So generally we'd go outside. I think a couple of years, it would be raining the day that we were planning to do it. So we'd go in the gym. But it's a way to get out, and the kids love it, and then they have a lot of space to run around in, and then they race to make some of those larger carbon molecules, and then all the kids that are left over, well, it's not that they didn't get to be in the large molecule, and now they're just a smaller molecule. They still have to name the structure that they are.
And I got to ask, did you ever do it where they I don't, but
No.
have it where like one arm, you have one arm now because you don't have that to connect, right?
Well, actually, I did do 1 year where one of the students in one of my classes only did have one arm. And so then that was everybody has 2 arms. Well, not Clayton. Like, oh, sorry, Clayton. So, I mean, that's always, a modification. You
Right.
kind of be aware of what your kids. The other thing that they love to do, especially like the real acrobatic kids, they'll link an elbow with a knee, and they'll get crazy with their how their chains and how they make those.
That is a great idea.
It's fun.
Yeah, and it gets the kids outside. And that's what they want to do at this
Yeah.
point when it starts to get nice out. Can we have class outside?
Well,
why, yes, we can.
The other thing, adding any kind of physical, especially the older kids. I know the older kids don't get a lot of opportunity, I don't think, to move their bodies as much, but they really do learn more and maintain more of what they're learning with that physical activity. And so that was always the great thing about this. Most of the kids would do a great job with naming. And I always thought it was because they were really actively engaged that one day where they're moving around, they're figuring it out, they're trying to, oh no, we can't all make pentanes. Well, so what do you make now? And I think just that whole element of moving around and getting that physical activity outside somewhere kind of helps with that.
Yeah, I like for the upper elementary, and I've seen it in even all the way up to high school, but it seems like more like predator prey. When you talk about outside, doing the predator prey thing and going through cycles to see how that goes up and down. I think that's why I liked that one, because it gets them outside moving. These are all like spring things, and it's I don't know. I just feel like it's time to get them outside. Apparently not today, they're telling me. But,
And is this also the time when
We're getting closer.
This is where I'll claim my ignorance. When is the Monarch Butterfly big thing? When is that? Is that in the fall?
That's in the fall.
Yeah, okay.
But we still do butterflies with painted ladies, or what we tend to do now at this time of the year. I've done painted ladies. Ladybug larvae are amazing. So if you ever get a chance to do those, they go their whole metamorphic process. I had no idea until the first time I got ladybug larvae, and I got them in the mail, and I was like, there's something wrong with these. They sent me something weird, so, and then we just let it go. And the process that they go through, they definitely don't look like their adult form, when they first come. So that's really exciting. So ladybug larvae, I've done praying mantis, egg sacs. Those you can buy easily from a science warehouse,
or talk to any gardener.
Yeah. Although you gotta be careful, because sometimes those are already they've already hatched or whatever, and you don't realize it. So you bring them in, and then you're like, just get excited for nothing. Nothing happens, which is a process that you talk to the kids about. But you really kind of want, for something like that, you kind of want some bang for your buck. So I would encourage you to buy them, if you can, if they're not too expensive. And then we're getting ready to hatch chicks in April. So that's
Fun.
our classroom will officially go bonkers in the 1st of April. So.
And where did you get the eggs for that?
From Purdue.
Okay.
Yeah. So we work with the Learning Network of Clinton County. So the extension office, and they work with, I don't know if it's I don't know who they get them from at Purdue, but they come from Purdue.
I think there's a whole research group at Purdue that does,
Yeah.
I mean, it's in ag and they do a ton of stuff with all different types of eggs that get
Yeah.
hatched. Yeah.
Yep. So that's
With the egg hatching,
exciting.
I've seen that in classrooms before. Are there projects and like learning activities and things that go along with being able to hatch those?
They do provide a big packet of information, but the stuff that comes from them, no offense to them, but it's way over our heads, you know, like, so we do talk a little bit about the more official scientific names for some of the parts of the egg, you know, like, so I do expose them to that, but to be honest with you, that's a little bit woo, like it's hard for them to even understand that there's a living thing inside the eggshell, let alone, you know. So we tend to do, I do a lot of extra beyond what Purdue offers with that. So we do like lots of nonfiction books. The kids, that's their favorite thing to write about. That's the egg hatching coincides with our all about unit for writing. So the kids are all they're all experts about chicks at this point. So they're all writing about those and writing about them. So it really fits in well with the whole curriculum.
If there are people listening to this, so what age would you say that material is probably appropriate for?
Probably upper elementary.
Okay.
And then beyond. So some of it, if you had, you know, some of it even the stuff that goes home is not real kid friendly, like little kid friendly. But some of I would say third grade would be would be good. And then up, because third graders, you know, they would still be drawn to the content and their parents could help them through it. But if you go too much younger than that, it's not real appealing to the kids.
Now, do you look ahead at the school calendar when you reserve those and make sure it's chicken nugget day?
No, but I have had that happen before because they start putting 2 and 2 together. And then I had a kid say, "Teacher, I don't eat chicken nuggets anymore." He was not going to eat chicken nuggets anymore. I'm sure that lasted a day or two, but it's just kind of part of the process. And some kids get it way because a lot of our families, not a lot, but there's a good handful of our families who raise chickens in their, whether it's legal or not, I don't know, you know, like I'm not sure they have the paperwork for it, but they have them.
Might be in their garage, but
yeah, right. But they do have them, and so they'll talk about, you know, we had chicken for supper, and you know, they talk about not necessarily the process, but where it came from, you know, like, and that's not a big deal to them. So, but for some of them, yeah, it's pretty much a shock when that conversation comes up.
How about Peeps, Steve? Instead, let's talk, maybe the kids get Peeps at the end,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, Peep day.
I'm just thinking of cracking open an omelet one day.
No.
Let's do our green eggs and ham that day. The next day, bring them the eggs.
Yeah.
There's after the whole raising the chicks, there's a good couple weeks before I can ever eat scrambled eggs again too. It takes me a while because it just kind of, the smell, and it just really kind of grosses me out just a little bit, if I can be honest, but it's nice. But there's always a lot of discussion because not all the chicks are formed correctly when they hatch, you know, and then you do have some deaths sometimes, you know, so you have to kind of explain that, and the kids get to help water and feed them, and the best part is getting them out after you got to give them a day or so to kind of get their wits, the chicks, before you pass them out to kindergartners. But sitting on the floor with them, and the kids learn a lot about holding them, and even they poop on the floor, you know, like the whole process, their toenails, like everything, they get to see the whole thing. And some are more definitely more adventurous than others when it comes to holding the chicks. So the first time one of them poops, a lot of them are done, like, I'm out of here, you know, no, peace out, like, that's not my thing. Or if you get pecked, you know, like they will peck you, you know, but that doesn't hurt, but you know, at that point. But and so the other kids are all about it, you know, give me another one, I want to hold 2, I want to watch a hopper on the floor, and they want to look at all of it. They're gentle, but you know, they're pulling their wings out to see what they look like, you know, and looking for that egg tooth on their beak, and just all of it. So It's
And what do you do with them when you're done?
They come back and pick them up and
Oh,
take them to
okay.
the farm. We say that we celebrate. They're going to the farm. I don't know what farm that is, but they're going somewhere.
Back to the chicken nugget farm.
Yeah. One year it was really nice because the chicks got to go to one of my friends' farms. So she would send us pictures every once in a while and say, here are some Blue Ridge chicks. Look how they've changed, so the kids would, then we would send the thing back, like, hi chick, we miss you. And, we love to see your farm. And she was really good about sending me pictures. It was fun, but then we stopped that.
Well, that'd be cool though.
I didn't know that they would come back and pick them up. I always wondered how that process worked. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I did too. I thought, I've never had them offer them to come to our house. And I was like, oh God, I really hope they don't do it
Yeah.
again and say, hey, can you guys have them? Because
The
we've done the rats and all the other
Yeah.
stuff.
The kids get so attached to the butterflies, even the butterflies and the chicks. And when we have to release them, boy, it's a whole big thing. Like you just have to talk about, they can't stay with us forever, and they're growing and they need their families and they need to go out and see the world and all that. And so that's a whole process, but there's usually a few tears when they have to leave, when they leave.
Same with butterflies.
Yes.
Do you explain to them if you love something, you let it go. If it doesn't come back, you get a butterfly net and then formaldehyde jar.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Then we go to high school and have our bug collection.
Like I was already like the butterfly net's kind of taking it apart, and then formaldehyde jar, like that's just really over the top.
That's sad. No, instead we plant flowers that we put in the garden area that the butterflies like, so that they're more likely to come around. So when they see a painted lady, they're just sure it's ours. One of our 6 that we release. They're like, there's our butterfly, and so.
But this is more like the real teacher's lounge now.
Yeah.
when you have comments like Steve just made. That's really like the way it really is.
There's always that one.
And it's usually me.
I know.
You seem proud of it.
I know.
I am.
That's kind of reminded me you said about the chicken nuggets. My kids take swine. They do swine in 4-H, and we just got our pigs last week. And I didn't realize that was the day the pigs were coming, so we were having pork chops for supper. And my older 2 came in, and they both, separately, they just looked at me and they're like, "Really, Mom? Really?" I'm like, "What?" And like I didn't get it. And then Finn comes in, it's his first year, and he's like, "Oh, I know where that comes from." Like he is like, I'm like, okay, I didn't plan it. It's just what we're eating. So yeah.
Way to warp your kids, nerd.
I know. I don't let them get attached. I'm like, it's a crop. We harvest this. Don't get attached. Don't name them.
Yeah.
They always name them. Like, don't name them.
Yeah.
Don't get attached. So
not a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it is that time of year where a lot of people are starting their 4-H things too. Didn't think about that.
Yeah. So talk about spring lessons. 4-H has a lot of opportunities for things to learn. I think that runs through the extension.
But isn't it too late to sign up for that? Don't you have to sign up for it? Like, I thought you had to sign up for that stuff.
There's an early, I know here in Indiana, it's earlier and earlier. I think there's a January 15th.
Yeah.
It's really when they like, but really they say, I'm fairly certain that the signups are ongoing up into probably, I think the ad drop date is in May sometime for our fair, and it might be later for other fairs depending on when the fair occurs, but yeah.
Well, that's cool.
I suppose then if people move into a community or something, they could still, that way they're not, if they don't miss out on a sign up.
In an extension office, it seems like every state has extension,
Yes.
4-H extension stuff. Those are great resources. If you're wanting something and you're not sure, contact your local extension person, and they have so many great resources. I know that they've collaborated with our teachers on all kinds of things. And years ago, I was working with them on some of the 4-H things we were kind of doing partly in a classroom, part of their things, kind of incorporating it. And that's cool. It gives them somewhere else to learn too, where they can take that and do it at home.
I've been on the Illinois Ag in the Classroom website a little bit more than I have on Indiana. Indiana is good, but Illinois is a lot. They had, at the time I was looking, there was so much more on there, and so I would encourage that too, just checking that out. Other states, not just ours, because their contributors are different, you know. So this is very similar material, but a little bit more involved. And if anybody ever gets a chance to go to an Ag in the Classroom workshop, they're kind of pricey, but a lot of times the Farm Bureau will sponsor a teacher or several teachers to go. They really want to push the farm education piece of it. So farm to table is really big right now. So it's really great. I went to one with a farmer friend of mine, in Kentucky, and I learned so much. I came up with so many things, and they're so excited to see educators. They're like, "You want this for free? Here, you want this? You want this?" They want to give you everything, and so I came home with more stuff than I started out with. But it was a good conference.
No extra coney bugs though, right?
No extra what?
Coney bugs?
No, that was weird. No.
We've been to
No.
several Ag in the Classroom conventions and stuff.
Yeah.
There was a gentleman who did a giveaway at the end of his thing, and it was him and his daughter basically did a craft with pine cones.
Pink cones, yeah.
Little coney bugs, and he gave
Hey, little
away.
bugs.
It was like, it was interesting.
I think I ended up with 4 because everybody was like, "We won this for you." I was like, "Oh, great. I got 4 coney bugs now."
Yeah, the local farm people that went with us and stuff, they're all like punting it off. "Oh, you're a teacher here. You need this."
Yeah.
You know, one thing you just said right there reminded me of a 6th grade teacher that I saw do something, and they started it. I guess you could still start it now, but she started it in like late January. But she had the kids all go outside and color like an area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do the artwork of that area. They did it 4 times during the second semester, and it was cool.